Two former friends turned bitter enemies. This isn't just about rent. It's about betrayal, assault accusations, and shocking behavior behind closed doors.
Miss Harding, you and the defendant signed a lease for a house.
Yes.
It's a large house. You were the only two people on the lease?
Yes.
You moved into the house with your boyfriend?
Yes.
Boyfriend?
Yep.
Miss Zemet moved in with her two children?
Yes.
And there was someone else living in the house too?
Yes.
Who was that?
Her witness, Jolene.
Miss Zemet moved out early.
Yes.
And you believe that she should be responsible for the 7 months that was remaining on the lease?
Yes.
Ms. Zemet says that she was forced out because of assaultive behavior by both you and your boyfriend.
Yes.
Okay. When did you sign the lease?
November 1st,
Of what year?
2001.
Did you know each other before you signed the
Yes.
lease? For how long?
Since the 9th grade, about 1994.
So you've known each other a long time?
Yes.
Was there any reason why your two names were the only names on the lease?
We were going to move in with another girl that backed out at the last minute, and that's when we had decided to let Jolene move in.
And what about your boyfriend?
He just never signed the lease. It was just between the
Why?
two of us. I don't know. We just never had put him on it.
But he actually moved in.
Yes.
What was the total rental on the house?
$1,600.
And what was the defendant's responsibility on the lease?
$550.
I'm going to go to you, Ms. Emmett. When did problems arise that you say caused you to move out?
Well, problems arose as soon as we moved in.
And here's where the mudslinging begins. Charity paints a picture of a hostile living environment. But is this the truth, or just a desperate attempt to avoid responsibility?
She was, in my opinion, acting jealous over me and Jolene talking. She would slam doors around. She was just not making it comfortable to be there at all. And then every week it seemed like there was something different that happened. You know, at the beginning of January when she shoved me into a gate, which I have a picture of a bruise that she left on my back.
Well, tell me about that.
Charity alleges physical violence during a New Year's Eve fight. But is this the smoking gun or a story riddled with holes?
Well, it was New Year's Eve. I happened to leave them at the club, not purposely.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, we were at a dance club.
Who was?
Drinking. All of us. And we all left, and I was supposed to bring two people home, which I didn't. Not on purpose. No. Not on purpose. Didn't bring them home, which included Jolene and Archie's sister.
You all went to a dance club.
Right.
You were supposed to take two people home.
Right.
Jolene and the boyfriend's sister.
Yes.
You didn't do that.
Right.
You say you didn't do that on purpose.
Right.
Because she was highly intoxicated.
You did it. It was accidental.
Right.
But something happened when you got home?
Right. As soon as I walked out of the garage, she came running at me and pushed me into the gate, and the gate handle left a bruise on my back.
And you say you have photographs of it?
I have a photograph, yes.
That's not true, Your Honor.
I'll get you in a second.
It's hard to see, but you can see.
Okay. Go ahead.
Then the very next weekend...
What happens next is jaw-dropping. Christina's boyfriend, Archie, is accused of escalating the chaos in the household. But wait until you hear his version of events.
On a Saturday, we were all at the house drinking after the... just having a little party at the house after the bar. And
After what bar?
After just the bar on a Saturday night, you know. We're just...
So you went to a bar Saturday night and you were drinking?
Right, all of us.
And then you came home and you continued to drink?
Right.
Where were your two children when all this drinking was going on?
My children were with their father.
Do they live with their father on the
No.
weekends?
Well, it was every other weekend.
Go ahead.
And Archie was, you know, intoxicated. He was yelling at his sister. Me and Jolene were sitting in the kitchen, and we just really didn't want to hear it, you know, like yelling and stuff. So I stood up. I said, it's okay. That's all I said. He started cursing at me and proceeded to throw me across the kitchen. And when I got up, I was crying. And when I was walking away, he poured his beer down my hair. I did call the cops, which I have records of that.
You just have a record that you called the police. You don't have a report.
Right. Here's what happened after I called the cops. I was upstairs in my room when I called the cops. And when they got there, I didn't realize I was upstairs, couldn't hear nothing. And then her and all his family came upstairs to ask me if I called the cops, but they said it.
That is not true.
You didn't call the cops, did you?
I'll get to you in a second.
You didn't call the cops, did you? And I didn't realize the cops were standing right down the hallway, so I said no because I didn't, want to say to them.
All right. So those were the two instances that you're complaining about that caused you ultimately to move out.
Them are the two biggest ones, yes.
You're Archie.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you pour a beer on her?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Caught red-handed, Archie doesn't deny his actions, but his explanation raises even more questions about what really happened that night.
I figured you did. Why?
Because I thought that she interfered with something that didn't really have to do with her. She was not in the same room like she said she was when my sister and I had gotten into an argument. We were just talking, just how brother and sister normally do. And she came out of the kitchen, started yelling at us, started swearing at us. She started chewing me out, saying I didn't have no business talking to my sister like that. My sister had said some pretty offensive things to some people.
Okay, so she just came out and she was yelling at you.
Yes.
And what did you do?
I asked her if she could please, get away from our conversation. I was talking to my sister. I didn't think she had any business being there. She kept on insisting on trying to get in between us, trying to push us apart from each other. It wasn't getting physical. It wasn't getting very loud. We were just having a few words, and she intervened.
She's
somehow.
intervening in a family situation. So
Yeah.
what did you do?
So I asked her on several
You told me
occasions.
he asked her to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Move
Yeah,
out.
they're both
Go.
me and-
Shh.
I asked her on several occasions to please sit down, please leave us alone. We're trying to talk.
All right, so you asked her, and she didn't.
She did not.
What happened next?
Then she pushed me.
She pushed you.
She
How did
pushed
she
me
push
back.
you?
She pushed me by my chest like this.
You mean she put her hands on
Yeah,
your chest
she put
and
my
pushed
hands
you?
on my chest. Yes.
Yes, and what did you do?
I just dumped my beer on her after that. I got frustrated that the fact that she would not, quit talking to me and my sister. I was trying to have a
Did you
conversation
push her
with my
back?
sister. No, I did not. Your Honor.
You just poured your beer on
I
her,
just poured my beer over her head, yes.
and at that point you were angry.
I was a little upset.
Put your hand down.
I was a little upset, Your Honor. I was not angry. I work at a high stress level job. I don't get angry.
Archie, was it becoming increasingly unpleasant living in the house with the defendant?
Yes, it was, Your Honor. She.
It was very unpleasant. It was
yeah,
unpleasant for you?
Yeah, it was pretty unpleasant.
Was it unpleasant for you?
Yes.
Good. So that you are not unhappy when she left.
Not necessarily.
Good.
Well, I had tried to work things out with her. I tried to sit
No,
down and
you're
talk
not.
to her a
Once
number
she
of
has a fight
times.
with your boyfriend, you're not working things out with her.
It was before that also.
Once she has a fight with your boyfriend, you're not working things out with her. Now, you moved out in January.
Yes. Well, I paid January's rent, full January's rent, but I moved out at the beginning, but I still had some stuff there until the end of January.
Okay. Is that true?
No, she did not move out. She put a padlock on her door, and she would come every day, pick up a little of her stuff, and go.
Well, that's what she says. She says she moved out, but she left her stuff there
Yes,
through
she
the end
didn't
of the month.
officially
And she
move
did
out
pay,
till the end of January.
and she did pay January's rent.
Your Honor, she did not move out. She was there just about every night of the week.
Fine, but she paid January.
Yes.
Okay. Come February, is she gone?
Yes, she was gone the end of January. But she had not given me any notice.
If you think that I don't see your hand, I do see your hand. I'm not interested in asking you any questions right now.
Your Honor, I asked her numerous times when I could plan on her moving out so that I could find another roommate.
Okay, so now you know at the end of January she's gone. What did you do to find another roommate?
I had asked her numerous times throughout January when she would be out so that I could find another roommate.
Well, you're not listening to my question.
Your Honor, she was.
I said now you know at the end of January she's out. What did you do
Your Honor,
then to get another roommate?
We did not know
I had
that.
another roommate set up to move in on March 1st. And she and our other roommate brought numerous guys over that were related to Jolene. And they all had baseball bats and shovels, and
Here comes the bombshell. Christina claims Charity masterminded a brutal attack involving baseball bats and shovels. The courtroom is about to erupt.
they jumped my boyfriend. He ended up going to the hospital with 8 staples in his head. And that caused my roommate not to move in. She was scared to live with us.
And when did that happen?
On February 3rd. I have pictures and hospital reports of what happened.
Was anybody arrested?
No, it's still pending
It's a pending
investigation.
criminal investigation.
So I could not get a police report. It's not been released yet. You're talking to a homicide investigator.
Did she move out too?
No, she's
after
staying.
that night, after February 3rd.
Okay.
Earlier that night at the club, she was trying to fight with me. My boyfriend stepped in the middle of us. She broke a beer bottle over the side of his head. And so then the bouncers jumped on her, took her out of there. He was trying to press charges. They said she was going to detox.
This part sounds more like a crime thriller than a civil dispute. Beer bottles shattered, bouncers intervening, and a trail of accusations leading back to Charity.
She showed up at the house within an hour, and then within an hour after that, there was about 8 to 10 guys. They were about to break the window to get in the house when my boyfriend opened the door. They pulled him outside. They all had baseball bats and shovels. He was beaten pretty bad, as you can see in those pictures. His cousin and his sister also ran out there and were pretty beaten up too.
What makes you think that the defendant had anything to do with this?
Because I saw her driving
Because
away from there after the guy. She was sitting there on the street in her car when this was all going on. After the police were starting to come, she backed around the corner of the block.
After she supposedly moved out of the house, Your Honor.
You mean on February 3rd?
Yeah.
Yes.
This young lady was with her in the car?
She was in one of the cars. She had gone out the side entrance and she had gotten into a car somewhere else when all this had happened. She must have got in the car before that. When I saw Charity back down the street, she was in the car by herself.
When was the lease up in the apartment?
It's not up until August 31st.
Who's living in the house now?
Just the two of us. We have still yet to find a roommate.
Where are you living now?
I own a house. I had just moved out from my kids' father for a short period of time.
Go back. You're living in a house that you own?
Yep.
When did you purchase the house?
August of 2001.
If you purchased the house in August of 2001, what were you living with them for?
There was problems between me and my kids' father, so I decided to move out for a short time.
So you're back in that house now?
Yes.
Who are you living there with?
My children and my kids' father.
Were you at the house? I'm not going to ask any questions about that. That's part of a pending criminal investigation, so I'm not going to ask any questions about where you were on February 3rd.
Your Honor?
What?
I had an apartment with my boyfriend before. I decided to move in with her and another friend that was going to be getting a divorce from her husband. And she decided to stay with her husband. We were fine in the apartment we had. I decided I wanted to help her out because she wanted to get away from her kids' father. She was dating my boyfriend's friend at the time, and she wanted to get out of that house. She wasn't planning on going back there.
Okay.
She signed the lease till August 31st.
Did you speak to the landlord before you moved out?
Yes, I did. Quite a few times. He told me he would take me off the lease, and that's where I was renting from.
I never received another lease.
Were you in fact removed from the lease?
Well, he kept saying he was...
Not well. The answer is either you were removed from the lease or you were not.
Yes, definitely.
Show me.
I don't have any proof. He lives in
Well, you have
another
no
state.
proof, and it
Here's a
wasn't then.
copy
The
of
only
the
lease
lease,
that I
Your
have
Honor.
is the one that you originally signed.
Well, I spoke to him on the phone quite a few times, and he told me that he would take me off, that he did take me off.
I don't listen to what you tell me. That is hearsay. If you have a lease or a document from the landlord that indicates that you were removed from the lease and your obligations under the lease have been terminated, I will see that. You don't have that. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, what efforts did you make to try to find a new roommate to assume your responsibilities under the lease?
In true Judge Judy fashion, she cuts through the excuses with her razor-sharp reasoning. But can either side walk away from this unscathed?
It was not my responsibility to find a new roommate.
No, whose was it? Bird's? Whose was it?
Well,
You have a lease.
correct.
You have an obligation under the lease.
Yes.
Ordinarily, I would say that they have an obligation to mitigate their damages.
Well,
which
she told
I'm
me-
speaking. I want you to try to learn something today. Every day should be a learning experience. They have an obligation, if they know that you're moving out, to try to mitigate their damages by finding someone to assume the remainder of your lease. Unless I find that there is some evidence that you and your girlfriend over here have done something that would make it difficult for them to find a new roommate. You also have a responsibility, because if you sign a lease and if you move into a home with the understanding that neither of you could afford this on your own, but together you could afford to maintain a big house like this, then you have a responsibility not only to your landlord, but also to your co-tenant. So I'm asking you, you did not do anything to find another roommate?
Well, she, at first, we did agree about a 2-month notice of getting out. Now, I don't know why she's going for the whole lease. I think she's just upset that the person did not move in, which I do not know the person that was going to move in, but Jolene does. She said that she didn't want to move in the first place. She was just saying she was going to move in to be nice, and this is all what she told Jolene. She said she was never planning on moving in.
Your Honor, here's
Then find somebody, and I'm asking you, What efforts did you make to find somebody? And if your answer is simple, you made no effort to find anybody. Is that right?
Correct.
Good. Listen to me. It was not a pleasant situation living there in the house, clearly. Everybody made a mistake and everybody's got a bad temper. You had no right to pour beer over her head.
Correct.
None. And she had, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, if she was a reasonable parent, which I'm not so sure about, a lot of drinking going on there, even if her
And
children
her children
weren't
were
home.
there every weekend.
Are you trying to talk over me?
No, I'm sorry.
So I think it's probably a very good idea that she left. Now, are you current in your rent?
Yes.
How are you managing it?
It's really hard.
Do you
I
work?
have tried to start daycare, and I haven't gotten very many children because of the pending investigation.
A daycare provider under financial strain and a pending criminal investigation. This raises the stakes even further. What's the real cost of this fallout?
And my boyfriend has been picking up just about most of the rent.
What kind of work do you do?
In security.
Okay, so you've been paying the rent.
Yeah.
Now, when you moved into the house, did you put down security?
Yes.
How much?
I put down 1,000, Charity put down 600, and I have lost that now.
Why?
The landlord said since she moved out, she forfeited her part of it, and
Oh, no. Don't give me baloney. Security deposit is for any damage that's done. So you don't forfeit that until you move out.
that's just what the landlord said, and I'm going
And
to
you only
fight that if I do
forfeit
move
that
out.
if you move out and there's damage to the property. Is there damage to the
Charity
property?
Yes,
did
I
leave
have
the-
pictures of
the
how she left her
place
room
damaged.
also. Holes in the walls and trash all over.
Well, trash it and clean up.
Yes. with
Holes
the-
in the walls is different.
Well, we had to pay for that trash to get hauled away also, Your Honor, out of our own pocket.
Arch, is there anything physically wrong with you?
No.
You had to pay somebody to sweep up?
No, I said we had to physically pay to remove all of her trash that she left
When
there.
you say
out of-
physically pay, what does that
We
mean,
had to pay
Archie?
the trash.
We had to pay the trash bill to have all of that stuff hauled away.
No, that's not a big deal. We're not looking at a big deal here. Listen, Miss Zimet, you skipped out on a lease, and you had no reason to skip out on that lease, as far as they're concerned.
And as far as they're concerned, I guess not. In my mind, I did.
You're not speaking for a very good reason, madam. You're not speaking because there is currently an investigation that is pending with regard to a very serious assault. And I don't want to hear you because I don't want you to inculpate yourself or anyone else in this incident that occurred on February 3rd.
There's other incidences that happen, though.
But I'm not going to let you pick and choose what you want to talk about.
Okay.
Perfect. Now we understand each other? Good. She has a $600 security deposit. I suggest you putty up the walls so that you don't lose that part of the security deposit. She moved out, she paid January, February, March, April, May, June, July. Is that right?
August.
No. August will be covered by her security deposit. I will prepare an order that her security deposit is to be released to you.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
That covers your last month's rent. So it's 6 months at $550 is $3,300.
I also have bills that she didn't pay for December and January.
What bills?
The trash bill of the electric bill, the water bill, and the cable bill.
Good. Consider that paid for by the dumping of the beer over her head. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,300. That's all.